It's because the pirate movie was rated R. You get it? No, I don't think you got it. You would have laughed if you got it. Hi, I'm Gruffus. Welcome to Puppet Tabletop, and today we're going to be taking a look at Ahoy. No, because it's a pirate movie, and pirates go R, and it's rated R. Okay, no, I don't think you got it. Let me tell it again. Aw yeah, we're talking about one of my favorite topics today, old-timey naval combat. Specifically pirates. I'm obsessed with pirates. Like way more obsessed than an adult man in his 30s should probably be. The idea of being on a massive floating fortress with your buddies, blasting cannons and sword fighting on the open sea, just makes my bro-ish dude brain go, yeah, pirates, naval combat, oh yeah! So, given that, it should come as no surprise that I've been looking forward to reviewing Ahoy for quite some time now. In Ahoy, 2 to 4 players will each take on the role of a seafaring faction, trying to gain as much fame as possible by battling for control of territory and smuggling goods between islands. Now, just a heads up before we get into this is a Leader Games game. This is the same glorious publisher that graced us with the existence of Fort, Root, and Oath. They also published Arcs, but we don't talk about that one on this channel. Get that stressful stuff out of my face, I don't want to look at it. Anyways, for those of you that have no idea what I just said, just know that Leader Games is a very highly regarded publisher. They have a reputation for putting out highly strategic and often asymmetrical games. And Ahoy totally fits that bill. Each game of Ahoy begins by selecting which faction you want to be. There's the Bluefin Squadron, a company of sharks who dominate their territories through aggression and strength. There's also my personal favorite, the Mollusk Union. They're an alliance of undersea creatures rising up to reclaim their ancestral homeland. And in a 3 or 4 player game, there will be 1 or 2 rival smugglers. These smugglers are running goods between islands, trying to be as swift and efficient as possible, in hopes of getting a big payoff. After everyone selects their faction, the players then shuffle a stack of 12 region tiles. Each of these consists of 4 spaces, one of which is always going to be an island. 1 tile is randomly removed from the stack and returned to the box. 2 tiles are then drawn from the top of the stack and placed to create the starting board. Every time a region tile is placed on the board, a wealth dice is placed on it with a value of 1. Then you set up all the market cards, and everyone places their faction's fame marker on the 0 space of the fame tracker. Each player rolls their action dice and grabs 1 starting gold. Afterwards, each player places their starting pieces on the board, and then the game begins. On your turn, you'll be taking one of the actions listed on your player board by assigning an action dice to the corresponding slot. Some action slots have specific dice requirements, but blank ones can have any dice assigned to them. You can even spend gold you've collected to increase or decrease the value of a dice before you place it to take an action. These actions might differ depending on what faction you're playing, but in general, everyone will have access to some basic ones. There's the sail action, which lets you move 1 or 2 spaces. And if you move off the edge of a region, you explore a new one. Grab a new region tile from the stack and place it so that the new tile's island is not adjacent to another island. And voila, you've explored. There's also a variety of terrain that you might bump into as you move around the board, each of which has its own effects that add interesting considerations to your turn. Another action you might take is Tailwind, which lets you move directly to any space with a tailwind icon matching the value of the dice you spent. There's also a Cannons action, which lets you load your cannons for the round, allowing you to trigger combat and making you more effective at breaking apart your opponent's ships. If you ever move into a location with another ship, and either of you have loaded cannons, you both go full Danny DeVito and start blasting. If your cannons are loaded, you can spend some of your cannon dice value to increase your attack roll by the amount you spent. But once both players have decided on spending cannons, they each roll a d6 and see who rolled higher. If you win a combat, you select the battle victory condition listed on your player board and gain those rewards. And these rewards are going to be different depending on which faction you're playing. Whenever you would take damage in the game, you take one of these small little damage tokens and drop it into the action slot on your board, blocking that slot for future actions. The last action is the repair action, which lets you... Anyone? You guessed it, lets you repair damage. Finally, the last universal rule worth mentioning is how you obtain crew members. When you land at an island, you can pay to acquire a crew member card from the market as long as their icon matches the island that you're at. And these crew cards potentially give you new action slots and abilities that can really change the state of the game. During a round of play, each player will take 2 of their action dice that they rolled at the beginning and allocate them to their player board and take the corresponding actions. This will continue until everybody's spent all of their action dice. Then some points are scored for area control, and the dice are re-rolled before starting a new round. Now that we've gotten through the general stuff, it's time for the fun part.
The factions!
If you're playing as the Bluefin Squadron, you're going to be the big beefy boy of the table. In order to win, you'll need to compete head-to-head against the Mollusk Union for control over every region. And as a result, your entire faction is built around dropping as many dudes all over the board as you possibly can. Whenever you move as the Bluefin Squadron, you're going to be pooping out these little patrol units that can test regions and battle opponents. On top of that, you're also going to be fortifying islands with strongholds that can also battle and dominate regions. You're basically a hyper-aggressive and violent wall of shark meat that's going to be bullying everybody at the table. And if all that wasn't enough, you also get 1 bonus action dice, meaning that you get to do more on your turn than anybody else does. But what about my favorite faction, the Mollusk Union? Since the Mollusk Union is also competing for control of regions, they need a way to handle the big chunkus that is the Bluefin Squadron. Because they lack the brute strength of the Bluefin Squadron, they instead have to rely on being tricksy little guys. As the Mollusk Union, you'll have a deck of plans that you'll be drawing from throughout the game. They can give you the ability to suddenly rush the board with your comrades, island hop with your snails, bait your opponent into overextending, or even gaining new ships with unique abilities. At the end of the round, the Mollusk Union and the Bluefin Squadron will calculate their total control in each region. Then whoever has the most control points in that region will gain fame equal to the value on the wealth dice. So if the Mollusk Union and the Bluefin Squadron are duking it out in a game of area control, what are those smugglers up to? Well, as the smugglers, you're going to be running around from island to island, picking up cargo and dropping it off. But unlike the other factions, you don't really have anything that makes you great at combat right out of the gate. As a result, you're going to be dodging, ducking, dipping, diving, and dodging as you make your way around the board, trying to go as fast as you can without interruption. You're basically going to be like Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock in Speed, just hauling ass, trying not to slow down. When you succeed at a delivery, not only do you get fame, but you get an additional award from your little player board graph chart thingy. I'm sure that's the official name for it, player board graph chart thingy. You also get to place a bet on whether you think the Mollusk Union or the Bluefin Squadron will control that delivery's island type at the end of the game. Guess right, and you get some points. Every successful delivery also causes the wealth dice of that region to increase, causing the region to become a bit more juicy and tempting to the Mollusk Union and the Bluefin Squadron. So as the smuggler, you can kinda use that to your advantage. The game continues in this kind of competitive, symbiotic way, with the smugglers increasing the wealth of each region, and the 2 primary factions fighting for control over them. Afterwards, whoever's got the most points is the winner. So, what did I like about Ahoy? First, the mechanics in this game perfectly complement the pirate seafaring theme. From the combat system, to the market and crew being island specific, to damage being allocated to the ship art on your player board, it all did a fantastic job at keeping me immersed in the setting. And this carries over regardless as to which faction you're playing, which is impressive considering how asymmetric they are. Speaking of the asymmetry, I think they did a fantastic job of making all of the factions feel different while giving them enough common ground that it's not overwhelming to new players. If you're familiar with Leader Games' other game, Root, you might be familiar with how the factions in that game exist within the same system, but they have very little overlap in how they function. Some people absolutely love Root for that aspect. Others find that frustrating and off-putting. And while I'm in the camp of people that absolutely adores Root, I totally understand why that game is hard to table. Everybody playing has to have an intimate understanding of how all of the other factions work in order to have a shot at victory. Ahoy, on the other hand, manages to strike the perfect balance between unique gameplay across the factions, while overlapping the core mechanics enough that the game doesn't require a baptism by fire. It's pretty clear right out of the gate what each faction's gameplay style is going to be, and how they're going to try and go about winning. And as much as I love Root, Ahoy is just so much easier to get to the table and onboard new players. Another great aspect about Ahoy is how replayable it is. Every time I've played this, not only does the board unfold in a unique way, but because of the crew cards in the market, everybody's playstyle evolves in a unique way as well. You might pick up the hyper-violent pufferfish, letting you play way more aggressively than you normally would. Or maybe you try to lean heavy into getting that sweet, sweet gold by picking up big, meaty claws here. What? What did you just say? Big, meaty claws. Oh my god, why would you say that? Wait, what? No, it's a line from SpongeBob. You know, big, meaty claws, you know, because, the card has a lobster on it. Wow, I can't believe you would just look me in the face and you would say that. I'm so confused right now. I don't understand what's happening. You know what? You're sick. You're sick, Gruffus. I quit. Oh, come on, Shelbert. Shelbert, come back. Come on, it's a line from SpongeBob. It's a line from SpongeBob, dude. Well, that's going to be a lot to unpack with my therapist. Anyways, aside from the vast replayability, the game is just an absolute delight to bring out on the table. All of the bright, contrasting colors between the tiles, the meeples, and the dice make this game a real eye-catcher. And that leads me directly into the art. As I've mentioned before on the channel, Kyle Farron is one of my favorite artists. And in my opinion, this is his best work. The character art in this game fits the vibe perfectly. And last, but not least, it's box time! We've got ourselves a winner here, folks. Not only is the outside of the box covered in that beautiful art that we just talked about, but there's a lovely ocean pattern on the inside of the box too. Also, the box insert, perfection. Its color not only complements the box art, but it also has built-in spaces for you to hold all of your pieces. Overall, I think it's a great box. Very nice. Wait a minute. Why do I recognize that music? I am DeWurm. DeWurm, you actually showed up. Yeah, I got your message last week. You said you've got some dirt on Vinny? I am DeWurm. You've got evidence that we can use to get him locked up? I am DeWurm. You say you have financial records proving that he's been laundering money and committing tax evasion? Perfect. I mean, that's probably the least bad thing he's been doing, but still, I mean, if it gets him locked up, heck yeah, let's use it. I am DeWurm. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've actually been studying how to speak worm on Plubolingo recently, so I'm not great, but good enough to get by. Anyway, what's the next step? What do we do here? I am DeWurm. Okay, so you either just said you want me to pour cheese fondue down your trousers, or you said that you just need to take the evidence to the DA. I am DeWurm. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm shocked. Thank you. I don't know how I'm ever gonna repay you. Maybe I can name my firstborn after you or something? Nah, my wife would probably kill me. Maybe a middle name? I am DeWurm. Alright, well, thanks for everything. I guess I'm gonna be okay. So, what did I not like? Well, if I'm being honest, I'm a really big fan of this game, so I'm really dredging the depths here to come up with issues that I see with it. One thing that I guess is pretty disappointing about this game is that if you're playing it at the 2-player count, you're limited to playing only the Mollusk Union and the Bluefin Squadron. As those are the only two factions that are really directly competing in the game, it makes sense, but also I feel like the game loses a lot of its soul when you're just at 2 players. Some people might really enjoy the limited focus of the game becoming a head-to-head struggle for area control, but the added balance and threat of having differing objectives on the board really is one of the strong points of the game in my opinion. As a result, the 2-player version of the game just kind of falls flat for me. At that point, if I was going to play a 2-player game, I would just play something different like War Chess that was designed to be played at 2 players. Also, I should mention that if somebody starts to run away with the lead in this game, it is one of those games that will take a concentrated effort from everyone at the table to kind of keep them in check. While the majority of the time I've felt the game was pretty neck and neck between most of the players, I do occasionally have a game where one player kind of gets ignored at the table and just kind of starts to run away with the game, and then everybody has to try and focus them to stop them. If that happens in a game with new players, it can be a little bit hard for them to intuit how they need to go about hampering that player. I feel like I'm forgetting something else. I wrote a list of pros and cons a while back when I first started thinking about reviewing this game, and I put it around here somewhere. I got an idea. I'm gonna use that Magical Spyglass that Mortimer bought off that sea hag. One second, let me go grab it. Here it is. Okay, here we go. I found it. Alright, how does this thing work? Magical Spyglass. Please show me where I put my pros and cons list. Por favor? Nope. Wrong. That's not what I asked for. Next. Oh, crap. Next. What the hell? Stupid thing must be broken.
What? Where am I?
Whoa.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Oh, God. They always warned me somebody was gonna try and kidnap me and take my treasure.
Whoa, dude, whoa. Just chill out, okay? Don't you throwing around words like kidnap, okay? Listen, I'm Gruffus, all right? I review board games. You're in my studio. Just used a magic spyglass. Maybe it summoned you here. I don't know.
Sounds suspicious. How do I know you're not trying to take my treasure?
Okay, dude, just listen, all right? I've had a crazy day, all right? I'm just trying to get through this review, all right? My threshold for weird stuff is just... Wait a minute. Did you just say treasure?
Yes, why?
You know what? Why don't you just go ahead and just go take a seat over there real quick, and once I'm done with this review, I'll help figure out what's going on, okay? How does that sound?
Okay, but you're not gonna try to take my treasure, right?
No, of course not. I'd never do anything like that. Never. Quick, go buy some crowbars or something.
Have you ever tasted a drink so delicious that... What the heck?
Who's there? You better not be trying to take my treasure.
You're interrupting the commercial, guy. Get out of the shot.
Commercial? What for?
Splorgle Blast! Never let the party die!
Now, for the solo mode review, please welcome our resident solo reviewer, Mortimer.
Hey, Gruffus.
How's the solo mode?
There isn't one. At least not an official one. There is a fan-made one, though, that you can find online, but since it's not an official one, I'm not really going to talk about it here.
Thank you, Mortimer.
So wait, what did DeWurm say?
You're not going to believe this, but he actually got dirt on Vinny. He's going to drop it off at the DA's office first thing in the morning.
So Vinny's not going to kill us?
Nope. I'm pretty sure he's going to be going away for a long time.
I can't believe it. I don't know what to say.
How about, thank you, Gruffus. I never should have doubted you, Gruffus. I told you everything was going to be fine, dude.
I mean, you are the one that got us into this situation to begin with.
Good, so we both agree that it's neither of our faults. Cool.
You know, you're really obnoxious sometimes.
So, that's Ahoy. It's a deeply strategic and delightfully thematic game of naval warfare. It's got enough in it to appeal to those who love the deep and crunchy asymmetry of heavier war games, while still being accessible and enjoyable to those who typically are turned off by those types of games. While there are gamers out there who will still prefer the steeper learning curve of a game like Root, to me, this is the best game in the Leader Games arsenal. This game has been in my collection now for almost 4 years, and it's not going anywhere. And so, with that, it's a no-brainer for me that this game deserves to be bestowed with the highest honor we have to give here at Puppet Tabletop, the Puppet Chef's Kiss. Mwah. One last thing before we wrap up here. I'm pretty strict about wanting to review games solely based on the merits of their base game on this channel. I don't take expansions into account when I review a game, but for those of you that are interested in Ahoy, I would be doing you a massive disservice if I didn't let you know that there are multiple expansions out there, and they're all phenomenal. So while I'm not going to get into that here, I am going to go ahead and drop a link in the description to some videos from Sam over at Lord of the Board, where he gives a really good overview of the expansion factions. He's even got a video on the Treasure Pack expansion that adds a little bit more asymmetry to the game if that's what you're looking for, so you can find that down in the description as well. Well, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thanks for watching, and remember to shop at your local board game store if you can. Alright, who's ready to go get that treasure? What do you mean you lost him? So you're telling me we have a whacked out paranoid treasure chest just running loose in the studio right now?